Hello everyone, it's 1 p.m. The meeting is now live.
Good afternoon, friends and colleagues. Thank you for joining us. We will be starting by 1:05 on the dot. That is exactly 2 minutes from now. Thank you. Doing some quick mic check. Shidi, can you confirm that you can hear me? Oludotun, can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll start 1:05 on the Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you join us at this very important session that will be looking at as non-profit versus international grants. My name is Oyebisi Oluseyi, and I work with the Nigerian Network as its funding is an important or an integral part of the work that we do. And so that is why today the Nigerian Network of NGOs and One Foundation have both collaborated to bring to you two very brilliant panelists that will be sharing from their wealth of experience on how for us to access international grants. Let me start by telling you about these two brilliant individuals while that sets the foundation for the conversations today. Oludotun Babayemi, who is one of our panelists today, is a monitoring, evaluation, and learning specialist. He is a Draper Hills Fellow of Stanford University Center on Development, Democracy, and Rule of Law. He works at the moment with Clone House LLC, and he is a co-creator of Follow the Money. He has raised over $2 million for nonprofits and for-profit organizations. He is one of the panelists that will be talking to us today. The second panelist is Chidi Coatsworth. Chidi is a founder, lead strategist, Donors for Africa Foundation. She has trained over 1,000 nonprofits and raised over $30 million in direct and indirect funding. Our program reaches over 31,000 unique accounts weekly. And on that program, she teaches her audience. So she has a learning platform. She was recently drafted into the African Youth Front on COVID-19, launched by the African Union Office of the Youth Envoy, with the support of the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention. She has 13 years experience in the development space, and she's one of the 100 women impacting Africa in 2021. So you can be assured that today you're going to learn a lot from these two brilliant panelists that we have gathered to come into the room and talk to you. Without wasting more time, let me call on Madam Olapeju Ibekwe, who is the CEO of Sterling One Foundation, to welcome us and tell us about giving.ng, after which we then move into the day's activities. Do I have Mrs. Olapeju Ibekwe? If you are in, then I'll hand over to you. Hello. Is Mrs. Olapeju Ibekwe online? Okay, while we're waiting for her, I think we can always take that. Let me check. Alima, can you confirm, please, if Mrs. Ibekwe is online? And if she can hear me?
Yes, I would do that now and come back to you.
Okay, all right. So while we're waiting, let me note that for today's event, we will take your questions and answers via the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to cover as many as we can cover within the time that we have. Again, the session today will be talking about accessing international grants, and we have two very brilliant panelists to take us through. And I'm excited that they are both professionals in the field, and they have the right experience that can help us all as nonprofits to raise funding for the good work that we do across communities in Africa. Thank you once again for joining us. This event has been put together by One Foundation and the Nigerian Network of NGOs. Can I again check whether I have Mrs. Ibekwe online? While I am still trying to get her online, Oludotun, can you please start getting ready for your presentation, because you come directly after our presentation. I'm told that Mrs. Ibekwe is joining. So we'll give her some few seconds to join us on the session. It's good to see about 170 participants on this call today. It shows this is an exciting topic, and I can totally agree with you that you would also learn a lot. I am looking forward to both presentations from Oludotun Babayemi and Chidi Colesworth. Yes, we have Mrs. Ibekwe now, and I hand over to her. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir, and say apologies for the initial hitch. I would like to say thank you, everyone, for joining us during this timely session when I am sure we all need some additional funding to achieve the great impact we want to make across different critical sectors across Nigeria. Yes, I am Olakweji Ibekwe. I'm the CEO of the Steady One Foundation, and I wanted to speak with us about Giving.ng just before we go and listen to these eminent personalities from which we're going to be learning a lot today. Giving.ng is the only free crowdfunding platform in Nigeria today when you can raise funds, for your social impact projects, especially across critical sectors, to support you in the great work you're doing to touch the lives of the less privileged across the country. So it was created just for you, to support you in the great work you're doing first. And it is also the only crowdfunding platform in Africa that gives grants. On Giving.ng, you can access grants up to 1 million naira for your social impact project. Of course, there are some terms and conditions to that. First of all, being that you have to be a registered NGO if you want to apply as an NGO. And then, of course, you can also apply on the platform if you're an individual. All you need to do is to set up your crowdfunding project on the platform. The project should either be in health, education, renewable energy, or food security sectors. Those are critical sectors. And then you should have raised the funds to a certain extent. We call the grants finishing grants, completion grants. So we help you finish faster, and we help you complete your project, your crowdfunding project faster. So I trust that by the time we're done here, you will go on. All you need to do is register. I'll be taking another session at the end of this enlightening session we're going to be having with Mrs. Chidi Colesworth and Mr. Oludotun Babayemi, when I'll do a practical onboarding session. This against the background of some questions on how do we do it. We're having a few challenges. What are the documents? And maybe I'll just mention it here and now. The critical documents you need for you to start raising funds on Giving.ng is you need to upload your CAC, which we all have, the registration document, your articles of incorporation, so we'll have more information about your board of trustees, and finally, valid IDs of the authorized signatories. Those are the three critical documents. If you have your SCUML and other things, perfect, it only enhances your chances, but those are the three critical documents that you require, and once those documents are uploaded, verified by our partners, then voila, you can start raising funds on Giving.ng. We're here to support you. We're here for us to make positive impact together across Nigeria. At this point, I would like to hand over to Mr. Ibisi. I'm ready to take questions because I'm sure there'll be questions for me at the end of the two sessions when we can have like 10 minutes to have a practical onboarding session on Giving.ng. At this point, Mr. Ibisi, you have the floor, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ibekwe, and thanks for the good work you do at Giving.ng along with your colleagues. So let's dive in now. I'm sure the 190 that I'm seeing, 190 participants that I'm seeing on my box now will be very much interested to now listen to Oludotun Babayemi. Please forgive me for not using any formalities. It's better for me this way. And he will be talking to us on the topic accessing international grants. Don't forget that I mentioned that Oludotun has raised, I'm trying to look for the right figure so that I don't, he has raised $2 million US. So he's the right person to talk to you. Oludotun, please cut us the soap.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Oludotun Babayemi, and I'm just going to quickly take us through actually 3 things that I'll be talking about today. At the end of my session, I want us to understand the different types of grants that we have. Also be able to explain to others the ecosystem on how grant making works. And lastly, understand the different ways of assessing grants, which means the strategies you can use to assess grants. So let's get into things. In terms of content of what I'm going to speak about, I'd quickly, take us through what grant is, then the grant ecosystem, also look at the type of grants versus the structures we have in our civil society organizations or NGOs. Then lastly, I'll cut with strategies for assessing grants, and I'll be using some of the past experiences that I've had in raising funds for several NGOs in Nigeria, in Africa, and abroad as well. So perhaps maybe we can take some of these learnings to the work that we do, the great jobs that we do in our various NGOs. And I hope this will be useful for us as well. At the back of my presentation, actually, there are references that we can go through. I have some links of where we can go to and get some more information. So what is actually a grant from my own perspective and what I'm thinking about with you participants that are in here? They are unlike loans that you get, and it's an amount of money that is given to your organization for something specific that you do not necessarily need to repay. So you don't need to repay the grants that I'm going to talk about for some minutes. But I think one thing is important while we're talking about grants, that it is just one of several ways that your organization can use in securing money, which we call funding, to foster the mission of your organization or your NGO or a civil society organization, however you want to call it. So I think that's important for us, that it's not only grants that we can use, although grants can be massive when we look at the percentage of income that comes to a nonprofit. So, and I think that is why we are all here, because it forms actually larger percentage of the funds that we can use in funding or fostering the mission and vision of our nonprofit. So this is how the ecosystem actually looks like in terms of what is the amount of grants we're even talking about. I always say that, yes, if you think about Nigeria as a market for these grants, you see that, according to the Overseas Development Assistance, the grant is, and if you look at multilateral and bilateral institutions, they're about 8.3 billion USD. I think that's in 2019, according to OECDC. So it is out of this chunk that we also want to assess funding. So you can get grants from multilateral institutions. And when I mean multilateral institutions, you can think about the World Bank, the European Union, you can think about WHO, World Health Organization. And these are countries coming together to pull funds together, institutions across different countries coming together to pull funds together. Think about the United Nations as a multilateral institutions. Then you can get grants from bilateral institutions, which are government-specific agencies that are supposed to deliver development in developing countries. So you can think about Japanese International Cooperation Agency, the United States Agency for International Development. You can think about CIDA, which is Canadian International Development Agency, UK-AID, which is now using the FCDO. So you can think about all these states, all these country development agencies that you can receive funding from in terms of grants, actually, in terms of grants. You can receive grants from, what I mean by state here is actually the Nigerian government. Actually, could be the state government, could be the local government as well. So think about the government in this box. You can also access grants through philanthropy organizations. And in terms of the donor space in international development or development cooperation, we're actually seeing new kind of cloud and grants coming from philanthropy organizations, which are, yes, individuals that have made a whole lot of mark in the profit-making space, and they're now putting their funds to fostering different missions and visions of different non-profits or non-government organizations. Examples is the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, Osiwa Makaro Foundation. You can think about Luminate and a whole lot of philanthropy organizations that we now have pulling funds from their private fund into non-government organizations to use in fostering their mission. Then you can think about private organizations. Actually, they pull funds and use to support the missions of non-profit organizations. You can also think about grants from individuals. Some of you might have used crowdfunding. So this means that, yes, and I mean, crowdfunding is what Peju just shared with us. Giving.ng is a crowdfunding platform, could be termed as a crowdfunding platform where individuals put in money for you to use. But I think I'd mention some of the examples like Kickstarter, globalgiving.org, that pull funds from different people putting their funds in a portfolio, and that organization they're putting it to then uses that fund to provide funding to non-profit organization. So this is the ecosystem, how interesting it can be, and you can see, you see the big cloud from multilateral institutions because yes, the amount of grants that is coming into the country is actually much than any other one, any other category you can think about. And I mean, you talk about the World Bank and all, but let's move a little bit into the types of grants that we have, because I know, yes, we're thinking about, yes, having funding. It's very, very important, having money to foster our mission and vision. There's actually no how that we want to foster our mission without having money, and getting grants is one of it. So the type of grants that I'm mentioning here, I categorize them in terms of the stage of your organization, which means that your organization needs to be at some particular stage before you're trying to assess some level or some amount of grants. So it's just like, I used to say this, it's just like a child that was born today. He needs to learn actually how to crawl before he or she can start walking, before he now grows to know his dad, to know his mom. So it's actually a stage for you to assess some amount of funding. And I've actually categorized them into 4 different stages, which is the seed stage grants, which I'd say that, yes, at this stage, you might be looking at $20,000, actually not more than $20,000, could be much more than that. But you'll be looking at something that is less than $20,000, because at this stage, I'm sure some of you might be in your 1 year or in your 2 year of your organization. This is the stage we're talking about. At this stage, you do not have policy documents. You do not have proper accounting systems. You're still thinking about it. You do not have a functional governance board. You're still testing projects, trying to work on one project or the other, trying to bring out an idea in getting to do good. So at this stage, you are only the one. And if you have a co-partner or a co-founder, or you have some volunteers at this stage, yes, they are not necessarily paid. So, but it's your first year and you're trying to get into projects. In fact, from my own experience, from one of the NGOs that I've worked with and also started, the first grant that we got at the seed stage, we didn't even have a registered entity at that stage. So money was paid to a private entity, but yes, we got the grants and actually used the grants. So I mean, that stage has all these characteristics that I've mentioned. Actually, when you're able to go through this stage, then you now think about the early stage grants, which I'd say, yes, I mean, about 3 years to 4 years, or you can say 2 to 4 years. At that point, you know, you've gotten $20,000 as a seed grant just for you to, if you like, you might want to get an office, register your company, your non-profit organization. Then you're not thinking about getting more grants. At this stage, I'd say, yes, you can start thinking of applying for $20,000 to $250,000. It might be gradual from 20,000 to 80,000 to 90,000 to 100,000. And I'll say that at this early stage, you have started developing your policy documents. It doesn't necessarily need to be concrete, but you have started developing it. You have drafts. You have started developing your accounting systems, which, yes, you can see income versus expenditure. When it's been asked for, you have it on a spreadsheet, or maybe a little bit of QuickBook might do. Also at this stage, you've started developing a governance board. For example, maybe you have a draft of a board book, what we call a board book. You've started, so remember that at the seed stage, yes, you already have perhaps maybe volunteers, but now you're having maybe one member of the team or two members that are being paid, and you have lots of volunteers as well. So I'd say there are grants that are at that stage. The third stage is the growth stage. At this stage, there are grants from $250,000 to $1 million. It's a very, at this stage is a very sensitive stage in nonprofits, because you need to be thinking about, yes, like the organization needs to be at the growth stage for us to access this amount of money. And at this stage, you have established policies, travel policies, communication policy, policy development policy, a whole lot of policy, computer usage policy, employment handbook, and all that. So you have established policy, you have developed accounting system. Maybe you might have gone from using spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, to using maybe QuickBooks, to using maybe Sage and all that. Then you have a functioning governing board. Yeah, I know that most times when we register, somebody asked me this recently, actually, that, I have a board when I registered my NGO. And I told him, well, this might be the case for everybody. Like at the seed stage, before you become an organization, you submit a list of board members to the Corporate Affairs Commission. But at the growth stage, we need to have been seen that, yes, your board are actually sitting. They are, yes, some seats quarterly, some seats annually, which is twice in a year. So they should be functional and also playing their role, their oversight role. At this stage, yes, you're having more experts, you're adding more experts to the team. At this stage also, you would have been having operation grants, which is grants that is used to fund your operations. So like paying staff, day-to-day running of your office, paying rent and all that. So I think that's the growth stage when you start thinking about applying for $250,000 to $1 million. Stage 4 is the matured stage grants. This is where, at this point, you're just trying to review the policies that you've developed at the growth stage so that it matches with the world level. And I mean, why can't Nigerian nonprofits stay at the world level with other nonprofits? So it's actually at this stage you'll be reviewing policies. You should have been reviewing your policies. You should have been reviewing your accounting systems and making it robust and more agile. Here you'll be working with a whole lot of, here is the stage you can work with a whole lot of networks and other partners that are cross countries. So here you see cross country, you're thinking about cross country collaborations with other nonprofits in other countries. So in summary, there are grants you can access at the seed stage, which is when you're starting. There are grants that you can access at the early stage, and there's grants you can access at your growth stage, and those at the matured stage of phase. Let me state that, yes, I've seen nonprofits that quickly went from seed stage to growth stage because they already thought about the structure. So one thing I would normally say is that, yes, once you're at the seed stage, you need to start thinking about having a proper structure, because for you to move from 20,000 to 250,000, that structure must be there, which is actually the foundation that you need. And for you to get to stage 3 and stage 4. Let me move into strategies, which are, and I mean, from my past experiences, one thing you need, and I'll be relating it to the types of grants that you're trying to assess. One thing I do tell people is that, yes, relationships are very, very important. From the seed stage, from when you're trying to assess 20,000 US dollars, you should start thinking about how to create relationships or networks with donor organizations. This is very important. There's this story I used to tell people that if you have $1 million, you can check yourself. If you have 1 million naira in your account, in your pocket right now, and you have a relative that is in need and a stranger that is also in need, you will definitely give that 1 million naira to a relation that is in need. At your seed stage, you need to think about having networks, creating relationship with donor agencies that are around you, that are within your community, that are within your state, that are within maybe Nigeria, or if you're listening to us, watching us from Africa, you need to think about that ecosystem that I shared earlier on. There are different ways you can relate with them. Sending emails. Some of these donor agencies have emails on their websites that you can contact, sending emails to meet with them. And what's the essence of meeting with them? I tell you, the essence is about understanding strategies. What's their strategy for the year? What's your own organization strategy? And where does that strategy match? So different ways you can use in establishing relationships. You go to meetings, you go to conferences. Now, I mean, conferences has gone online on Zoom. You want to try and get into some of their conferences and be part of it. And there you can, get to know who is a decision maker. And I said somebody that is closer to a decision maker. So one time when I go to conferences, in-person conferences, I used to look at the list of people that are coming for that conference. I try as much as possible to get the list. And I know that, and I just pinpoint people that I want to speak to or meet in that conference. That's a strategy. And I'll tell us some of the reason why. Most of us might think about, I'll get to that in point 4. So let me just stay on point 1, that yes, you need to know the donors and what they are doing. Is very important. The second thing is, yes, in your team, you need to have that expertise. And I can relate this expertise. So 1 is really from your seed stage, you need to be doing that. 2, technical expertise and experience might be at the second stage, actually, not necessarily, you don't need to have that much of experience at the seed stage when you're thinking about getting 20,000 US dollars. You need people that are experienced to come into your team. You need yourself also to be much more experienced as well. You know why? When you're meeting, which is my point one, when you're meeting with a donor,
I think we lost connection with Dotun. I think we lost connection with Dotun. Dotun, can you hear me? Dotun, can you hear me? Oh, I think we lost connection with Dotun. Oh, wow, we lost connection. Let's give him some seconds to see whether I would be connected back. He's making very, very important submissions in his presentations. I liked how he has framed the conversation along structures. And it's good to see how he has also, yes, he's back. Dotun, can you hear us?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Dotun.
Okay,
so
yes, it's back.
You have 3 minutes more to round up, so I'll let you have that. Go ahead, Dotun, please. Hello?
It appears his network is still a bit shaky, but I think that session has been so interesting. Everybody is ready to wait for him to come back.
Yes. So we'll give him some more seconds. And I was actually saying I liked how he has put the granting process into stages: the seed stage, the early stage, the growth stage, and the matured stage. And now he has been able to link all of that to your systems, your policies, and your financial management capacity. That for me is very, very exciting. And it was on the presentation around relationships, around saying what you have done and not what you are going to do when you're talking to your potential funders. I'm not sure whether he has spoken about knowledge and insight. I guess that was the stage he was at, or at the time we lost him. I'm sure he would be struggling really to connect back. So we can try to wait to see whether we can give him some 1 minute. I like also his thoughts around the life cycle system. And these are some of the things that as nonprofits we need to pay attention to. I'm also very much excited to see how he has broken down the funding numbers, in terms of bandwidth, from 20,000 to 50,000, and also from 50,000 to $250,000. I like that bandwidth, and that speaks a lot to what we should be thinking in terms of nonprofits that want to access grants. What does your system look like? What capacity do you have as an organization to implement that grant and to spend that money? Because that's also part of capacity. I would also emphasize on relationships. That's very important. How you build and how you network. I remember him talking about when he attends conferences, what he does, at conferences. That is also very important. The part that struck me the most, and which I want to emphasize, is that which says say what you have done and not what you're going to do. And this speaks to how you are able to manage the profile of your organization, whether there's funding or not. This also speaks to documentation. All of the activities you do, how are you documenting them? how are you making sure that they fit into the bigger picture? So let me not take over Dotun's session. He's not back, but while we're at that, let me check with Chidi, whether Chidi is able to take over from here, and at the Q&A session, we can then take Dotun's final thoughts, and then go into the Q&A. Again, remember that I said Chidi has 30 years experience working in this space, and she has raised $30 million in direct and indirect funding. So she will be speaking with us now and also sharing from our own wealth of experience also. Chidi, the 249 participants at this time would like to hear your voice, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shea. You're too kind. Thank you, and well done as well. Thank you as well, Mr. Bikwe, for the invitation. I deeply appreciate it. It's always a delight to share. Okay, so let's run into this, right? Because we don't have time. I'm going to be sharing my screen. I was supposed to start with a song, but I decided against it. I wanted to sing for all of you, right? Money, money, money. All is sunny in a rich man's world, or in your NGOs, right? Money is always the major issue when it comes to nonprofits. You want money, we want money. Where can we find the money? We want money for this project or that project. I'm going to contribute to what Dotun has said. I'm hearing the feedback. I'm going to contribute to what he has said, right? But I want us to take several steps back and ask ourselves some very important questions, because my session is a lot more practical. Are you really ready to be accessing funds, right? Should you even right now be applying for any grants? Or should you just be focused on building the results that you need to attract the funding you are looking for? Because the truth is, you will write. I'm sure Mr. Shea would understand the writing that goes into this whole grant writing process. It's a very tedious process. So the very first question you should honestly answer for yourself, like Dotun mentioned, what stage are you at or in? And what should you be focusing on at this particular time? My session is going to be very practical so that I can add a bit more content to it. So before you start thinking of accessing international grants, as much as we would all love to, I just love being very honest. As much as we would all love to access funding, you need to ask yourself some honest questions. Dr. has already asked you. Non-profit strategy is like your business plan. Some of us, the last time we wrote a business plan for our social enterprises was maybe 5 years ago when we wanted to present it to maybe an existing board, and it's sitting pretty, or you don't even know where it is because you've moved houses, right? A non-profit strategy document is pretty much your roadmap for the next 2 years, for the next 1 year, for the next 3 years. Do you have one? Number 2, do you understand inflow and outflow? Number 3, do you even have an organizational budget? We are looking for money, but are we clear about or as to how much are you looking for? What are the resources going to be used for? How much do I pay my staff in a year? How much does it cost me to implement all my projects? How much does it cost me to implement one program? And then when you're done preparing your organizational budget, do you forecast? Many of us will stop at organizational budget. There's no forecasting, right? So you say to yourself, I just need 1 million for this project, and you're raising 1 million. And at the end of 3 months, you go back to Mr. Shea and tell Mr. Shea, oh, please, I need more money, oh. Give me 500,000. I want to go and feed some children in faraway Afanchan. Any of all these things you do, at the end of the day, it comes back to the reality of the fact that you don't have a fundraising plan. You can't have a fundraising plan if you don't have an organizational budget, because an organizational budget captures the entire essence of your organization in 1 year. Some of you would go to, let me use the Giving platform as an example. You go to Giving NG to fundraise, and you'll be asking for 1 million. Meanwhile, it's going to cost you 10 million to run your programs for the entire year. So are you fundraising for a project And then you come back and knock on Mr. Sheyi's door and say, sir, please, we need more money. Let me run away from there. Number 5 or number 4, do you understand the status of your funding model? So is your nonprofit existing solely on grants? These international grants we are looking for. Is your nonprofit existing solely on grants? If it is, you need to go back to the drawing board, because grants is not a sustainable source of funds. It is a one-off. It will take you for a short period of time and you will come back to the drawing board. And then what are the quality of your programs? I was really looking forward to hear Mr. Dotun speak about that part of his session. What are the, I know he's in M&E, so he gets it. What are the quality of your programs? What kind of programs are you designing? Look, many of us are designing activities. You go to a school, you share your sanitary pads, you talk to all the children. There are no key outcomes. In 1 year, I cannot track your outcomes. I cannot track your impact. It is pretty much a case of go, put up roller banners, deliver your session, you come out, you look for another school, you go here. How are all your programs connected? Or how are all your activities connected to have a program? A program at the end of the day is, this is a project or project I'm implementing. You go there, you deploy, you have a set of goals, you go, you deploy. After deploying, you conduct an M&E, you track, you generate results. You can come back and say, based on the work that I did, this community now know how to farm their own food. Quality programs and measurable impacts. I'm going to run, please. You must also understand the mindset of the person you're going to access funding from. What is USAID thinking about? What is DFID thinking about? What is the Sterling Giving Platform? What are they thinking about when they choose to offer you money to fund your programs? What are they looking to get out of that situation? Mr. Dotun had talked about what? He talked about the bilateral funders, the multilateral funders, the individuals, the private sector. They all want different things from you. So what are you offering a private sector company? Return on investment, brand positioning, right? Number 2, what are you offering someone like, let's say, the Sterling Foundation, right? Or the Sterling Giving Program platform? Impacts. So you must be able to understand what your funder is thinking about so that it can determine how you approach that particular funding request. I would say something again. One very popular, let's call it character or behavior of a lot of nonprofits is that you go into a funding relationship or a funding request thinking about what you want and not what your funder wants. So your funder is looking to launch a project in Borno State. It's not because he loves you or loves the work you are doing. No. He's launching a project in Borno State because you are going into that relationship telling them, look, we are the people you should trust with this project. We already have a track record. We can help you achieve your vision. Points to take home. Fundraising is never, ever, ever about you. It is always, always about the person who is putting money in your pocket. The moment you can make a connection between the big vision they have far away in the US and then how they want to now maybe launch a development project or an educational project in Maiduguri, in any of all these states, make that connection and position your nonprofit as the right channel to achieve it. It is not, I beg to ask, I'm so sorry to say this, but based on experience, a lot of nonprofits approach funding relationships from a beggar's perspective, and it comes through. Change that mindset and focus on value as opposed to, please come and give me. There are so many problems. So as Mr. Sheyi is there, he has certain issues in the nonprofit sector that are important to him. So if he's very focused on agriculture and you come to him with, let's say, some random program, he loves what you are doing, but his core focus is what? Agriculture. That brings me to my next point. When identifying a potential funder, ensure that your vision aligns. You cannot be doing agriculture and you're looking for somebody who is doing education, except you can show me how education, or maybe you're going to be telling me we are launching an agricultural project that will teach these students in the educational sector or these students in schools how to grow their own food, or to maybe increase, I don't know, food production or whatever it is. Ensure that it aligns. Go and dig up the annual reports of your potential sponsors. Go and read the annual reports. Maybe because I grew up all my life working in the development sector, it comes with a lot of research. You can't be looking for money if you cannot sit down and go and start researching. Who did they give money to last year? If you're not going to pitch a project to somebody that received funding last year for the exact same project, you already know that nobody would answer you. Nobody. So even if you're pitching the same project, what is the innovation I am bringing into it? Are they looking to go into Africa, and that particular project has only been implemented in Asia, in South Africa, and all about these countries? And if they come to Africa, this is how you're going to be deploying it. Focus on what? Ensure your vision aligns, just to ensure that you're not going to them with the wrong information or with the wrong request. Please permit me, I'm flying. Okay. When you are approaching international funding, it is divided into 3 core parts. Like we discussed, I'm trying to keep this as practical as possible. There are 3 core parts. Number 1, when you identify the opportunity, when you apply for the opportunity, and when you review the document that you have applied. Identifying is what I talked about earlier on, finding who aligns with your organization's work. So there's a research that goes into it. It is not every funding opportunity that is best suited for your organization. Mr. Dotto has already broken it down. You have seed, early stage, maybe $250,000 stage, even $1 million stage. Find your stage, right? And approach that particular funder with your request. You need to be able to review your RFP. So what do I mean by that? 2018, when we applied for a particular fund for a particular organization, it's important that you read that request for proposal. You know what the request for proposal is? When people say, come and apply, we have money to give to you. You see all those long stories that they wrote. Please sit down. If you have a team, sit down with your team and go through that request for proposal. That is where your success to accessing the grant starts. You must understand what are the rules and regulations that comes to this application process. Some of them don't want you to apply for, it must not be more than 1,500 words, and then we'll give them 7 pages. You must understand what that document says or is saying, so that you can ensure that you are at least scoring first in that first process. Number 2, your application response, and then the review. Because a lot of us, we rush our applications, so we don't even have enough time to review our applications. I'll talk more about it in the next slide. Sorry, I'm rushing. Practical, case in point. Last year, when we helped an organization in the heat of COVID-19 to access $300,000, I'll tell you what happened. Like Dotto says, there are those, strange miracles that happen in fundraising. The organization in question did not even have a bank account, just like he said. They didn't even have a bank account at all, but they were able to access $300,000. And guess what? At that particular time, the funding agency had never given beyond $150,000. They only give $150,000 worldwide is their cap. For the first time, they gave a nonprofit that did not even have a bank account $300,000. Case in point, it is one of those unique cases. Maybe somebody's at the mountain of fire. It is one of those unique cases, right? But I will tell you what they were able to do. For 8 years, they have been implementing projects not as a non-profit. They have been implementing projects as an individual. So you know how I am passionate, and then I have a business. So I use my business to be making a difference in the world. But I was keeping my track record. Impact. We understood the demographic that they wanted to reach, women. We came up with a project that would give them scale, 5,000 women, 5-6 different communities, working with several implementing partners. We as nonprofit need to make the switch from this money is my money, so I will write until only me access it. We need to begin to leverage the capacity or the strength of other nonprofits. There are some nonprofits that have done fantastic work in the North. Why do you want to go to the North? Why? We don't understand that when we present a project that signifies scale for a potential sponsor, you are already more attractive than any other potential partner on that project. So how can you reflect in your project that, look, we are the one receiving the money, but we are deploying or working with 6 different organizations in the 6 different geopolitical zones, and this is how we are deploying the project. Look at who is handling, look at their track record. Look at who is handling, look at their track record. forgive me if I'm passionate. I also hope I don't come across like I'm venting, right? This comes from a place of, I wish I could shake some non-profit people, just shake their head, shake it, like, come on, like we need to wake up. If this is not a hobby, right? If you're not just passing through to meet your daily needs, I beg you, take some of the things that we have shared seriously. Just go back to the drawing board and ask yourself some honest questions, right? Okay, when doing the actual application, these are some things, I will just touch on them one point, and we will move forward. Executive summary. One of the things we have taken for granted is our executive summary. Let me just tell you what they're asking you to do in your executive summary. Tell me about your project in the simplest English under one paragraph. Say everything about that project in one paragraph. And that's why I encourage you to write your executive summary last. Number 2, about your project. See, you know these statistics that we are always giving. In West Africa, 250,000 children die every day from malaria. Oh, in Andoni community, 500, those statistics are great, but guess what? 100 million of you are also using the same statistics because it's on Google. I can just Google the project and I will see the statistics and I will use it. So picture somebody who is reviewing your application and they have seen 51 different statistics from, in fact, you already get the gist, right? So let me tell you a short thing, something that may work for your organization, storytelling. It is your baby. You know the problems you face. Maybe, for example, let me give you a classic example. Hassana is a young woman who got married at the age of 12. Because of early child marriage, Hassana has 8 children and she's only 15 years old. Hassana may never be able to go to school. She currently lives with maybe fistula, whatever it is. And this is why we do the work that we do, to ensure that many more girls like Hassana never have to go through what Hassana is dealing with. In Africa, 500 girls are currently faced with child marriages. That is a fantastic entry point to any application process. All I'm saying is, ditch these statistics. It is now 2022. Please let us ditch that statistics and focus on personalizing the experiences of the women, the boys, the girls that you support with the work that you do. And I broke it into 3 things. Every project they ask you about must cover what problem are you solving, what is the solution you have deployed, and what is the scale of the impact you are making. Leave flowery text alone. Let me jump. Also understand input-output activities. Budgets. Many of us, I don't know if we used to do the budget by ourselves. Me, I don't like maths. I never liked maths when I was in school. How I passed maths till today, me, I don't understand. Do you get? So why will I go and take up the budget of a project and attempt to do justice to that project? That's what many of us do. Find an accountant that understands numbers. By the time they look at your project description, you said you are going to train children in school, no generator, no this. There are so many elements of your project that they would identify and they would capture it in your budget request. So please, guys, that's also very, very important. And of course, always think sustainability. Always think sustainability. How do you plan to continue to implement this project after the funding has been withdrawn? That's the future. I don't think there's any application I've seen in the past 1 year that will not ask you about sustainability. So you must have a sustainability strategy. I'm about to round up. So points to remember as I wrap up this practical session. I don't know if I should say this because it's going to sound like air for some people. An organization I know of last year accessed $25 million in grants. You see this paper, I said there's no money, there's no money. $25 million in grants to implement a project. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that we did at that project that supported the success of that project. Number 1, you must prepare ahead. You cannot do things anymore in a hurry. If it is only 3 applications that you are putting in for this year, give it your best shot. Remember what Dr. said, have your documentations ready and available. Last 2 years, we had a girl from USAID. She came to deliver a session in one of our classes. We have an incubator program that we run. And she said, many times before you see the call for application, on a USAID project, on a DFID project, guess what? It's already late. But they have to announce it, so it doesn't look as if they did not announce it. So what does that mean? You need to have templates. You need to have budget templates. You need to have most of your documentations ready. You need to have an organizational toolbox where all these things will be contained in there. Oh gosh, oh Lord. What is in your organizational toolbox? Profile of your staff members, because people want to see the competency of your staff. Let me leave that as only one example. Number two, you need to start early. Start early. You need to start early. Number three, tell a lot of stories. I don't say you should lie, I say you should tell a lot of stories. You need to tell stories. Remember the story of Hassana? I told you a story. In the story, I was telling you the different problems that Hassana goes through, right? That's exactly how you should tell stories. Tell stories. Of course, prepare ahead, have your documentations ready, and start early. Let me see if I have anything else. This one, you'll see it when you receive the slide. I don't want to jump into anyone else's session. But by and large, right, I needed to realize that international grants are a lot more tedious than your regular, let's say, foundation grants or local or indigenous grants, right? Is there an ideal time to start applying for it? No, because I will tell you, start applying now. Start with the $100 grant, start with the $500 grants, right? Because when you continue to apply for grants consistently, you continue to build up your skills. But in the course of building up your skills, I don't want you to do it blindly, because it is if I tell you how many projects we have written and it was not successful, it's a stressful process. So you want to ensure that you are giving it your best shot by starting ahead, understand the issues, don't be in a hurry. Grant money is not your money, yo. Many of us think, I want money. The grant money is not your money. Let me leave it here. Grant money is your organization's money. You are not your organization. Your organization is different from you. So that money you are looking for is not to go and buy Jeep or go and buy one. That money is for your organization and it is for your project. So you need to have that at the back of your mind while accessing grants. I think the rest of it can be answered while we are taking the question and answer session. Thank you so much, Mr. Shea. And I hope I didn't go overboard with the time. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chidi, for the energy you've brought to this presentation. I particularly like your thoughts on strategy, those on organizational budget and forecasting, fundraising, program quality, having programs that are measurable. Dr. is back here. I'll give Dr. some 5 minutes to finish his thoughts. Then we'll now take Q&A for both of them. And I can assure you there are a lot of questions for you too. So be getting ready. Dr. Can we have you for the next 5 minutes so that on the dot of 2:07, you give it back to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shea. I was trying to, I don't know if I have the share screen opportunity back, but it seems I do not have it, but I can. Okay, so it seems it's here, so I can go on. Okay, so I actually, yeah, so I'll just quickly round up with this because, yeah, Chidi has said some of the pointers, but one, and I want to re-emphasize it, establish relationships with decision makers, especially from your seed stage. Two, you need technical expertise and experience. Chidi already said it, storytelling. Say what you do or what you have done, not what you're going to do, actually, not what you're going to do. And you can do that via, I've actually reviewed lots of nonprofit websites in how they tell their stories. On some websites, people put their own pictures like, oh, this is my website. No, people want to, international partners are looking for your website. They want to see your story, what you have done, the problem, how you've created the, what you have done and the solution, then the impact. They want to see those kind of stories. Also, when you meet at conferences, online, Zoom, when you meet decision makers, have meetings, what they're interested in is actually what you've done, not what you're going to do. So be able to document what you have done. It's very, very important, especially from the seed stage to the early stage. You need to be able to document that. Third, and I mean, talking about let me talk more about technical expertise, which Chidi has said, just to corroborate it with what she has said, which means knowing how to write your budgets, having a funding plan, actually, because once you say what you have done, the next thing a donor might ask you, or a prospective donor, is, okay, how much do you need? Which is actually in your funding plan, which shows what you need to move your mission forward, or what you need to move what you have done forward. I go to 3, knowledge and insight. Before you start writing grant proposals, or before you meet with a prospective donor, look at their strategic documents. I say it's actually your holy grail. It's like the Quran, it's like the Bible. Most of them on their websites, Mercator Foundation, or CIWA, think about them. The World Bank in Nigeria, they all have strategic documents like 5-year plan. Try and read it, look at it. It shows what they are doing or what they will do internationally. If you come to the Nigerian level, because some of them have offices in Nigeria, they might also have strategic document. But if you can't find it, make it the point of asking for meeting. Like if you request for a meeting, make it that, oh, we want to understand your strategy. Then we can then think about our strategy, which you can just think about. A donor agency that does not work around health will not fund you that you're working in maybe sustainable livelihoods, for example. So you need to make sure the thematic area you're working is the same, which you will see on the strategic document. The 4th one, which is common, which Chidi has talked about, and I intentionally put it at the 4th point. Know how to develop well-crafted compliant proposals and contents. I shared in the reference, there are actually so many templates for proposals. It's part of the reference that I put in here. You can go and see it. Fund4NGOs.org, they have so many templates about winning, and I'm talking about winning proposals. But what I want you to take out of this is that point number 1 is very important. And you cannot establish relationships if you do not have structures, if you're not tending to be like someone who would have structures right from your seed stage to the early stage to the growth stage. Why you're creating relationships is to have trust. No international partner will deal with you if they don't have trust in you. And these relationships, you might get it directly from the international partner that is going to work with you, or you get it from a reference of someone you have done something for before. You can have your stories outside in the public domain via social media, via the media. Someone is looking at it and they can actually recommend in that way. So try as much as possible to network, create that relationship. And I mean, with relationship and with you keeping relationship, you tend to be exposed to so many opportunities in the grant space. I won't talk much about well-crafted compliant proposals. Chidi has talked much about that. On my slide, I have references which you can dive into. Clones House LLC, yes, we already have list of organizations and resource centers. You can use that. It's a whole list of international partners, also embassies in Nigeria, where you can request meeting or ask them for a meeting. Fund4NGOs, I find it a very great resource for us. They have written lots and lots and lots. Someone was asking me, oh, I have all these templates and all, but we've not gotten grants. Let me say, it's about there's something we call pre-positioning for grants, which is related to my first point, which is relationship. Very, very important. There's another reference here, powering purpose-driven organizations. Beneviti.com is also another platform that pulls together private donor funding from all around the world and provide it for nonprofits. You can also check it out as well. So I think on that note, I'll say thank you so much Two things, relationship. Chidi said your funding is not actually for you. It is not your fund. Don't forget, I define grants. It is a grant that is provided to your organization to foster your mission of your organization and not yourself. Thank you so much, Mr. Sheyi and the panel. Let me stop there.
Yes, thank you so much, both Dr. and Chidi. Actually, Sheyi is also fine for me. And you've mentioned the need for relationships again. You emphasized that. Whatever grant you are receiving is not for you. It is for your organization. We've heard about storytelling. And many times I hear non-profit executive directors say, my name is XXX. I have been funding my organization myself. You know, that narrative has to change. And what narrative would that come to? It's to say that my name is Oyebisi. I work with a foundation that supports NGOs in the area of XYZ. And from my own resources, I have donated XYZ to this organization. That changes the narrative. And you are able to, again, not go from that beggarly mentality to that of someone that is adding value. Now we'll go to the Q&A, and I'll take the two together because we lost Dr. at some point, and Chidi has also gave very excellent presentations. And I warned you earlier that these two panelists are very brilliant. They understand the issues, and they have just done justice to that. The first question I'm going to ask will actually go to Chidi, and it is from the Q&A. So someone is asking, considering the saying, prepare ahead, like what documents should a person make them ready before applying for a grant? And is there any mentoring organization to mentor us? Thank you so much for the presentation. The presentation is very insightful. Chidi, please. What documents do they need to prepare ahead?
Okay, thank you so much. Oh gosh. Okay, I hope you have a pen. So I'm talking from my head now. You need to have an organizational profile. When I mean organizational profile, it has to contain impact figures, right? Impact figures, not just that you are based in Lagos, you have a team of 7. No, let it be well written, let it contain impact figures. You need to have all the profile and information of your board members readily available. You need to have all the information of members of your staff readily available. You need to have your impact document as well readily available. These are some of the things I can mention now. However, the truth remains, whatever is requested of you is usually based on the funding agency. So for example, what Giving Engine may want may be different from what a Ford Foundation may want you to present. So that's why, although there are no hard and fast rules, these are just like some of the basics. Let me pull up my presentation. I had done a list of some of those things. Quickly. I would say you need to have your cover letter that introduces your organization, a letter of introduction. You need to have recommendation letters ahead of time. So when you go to schools, community, you have partners who you work with, let them write you recommendation letters ahead of time. It's always a great to have. Financials. Your financials have to be top notch. Some people would always ask you for 2 years financials. So you see why the seed funding, what they would ask for you from a seed funder would ask, because they know you're just launching. They may not ask you for 2 years audited account. So if you've not been auditing your account because you don't want to pay 150K, please go and audit your accounts. You need it to be able to continue to access funding, because they need to see that there is transparency. Your inflow matches your outflow. If you're asking for $100,000 and you have not generated up to $20,000 in your books, it raises some red flags as well. So that's why what Mr. Sheyi said is very important when he said you need to be clear that you are making a donation to your nonprofit. So you need to have a letter that's employing you. Your nonprofit needs to be employing you as a CEO. Your nonprofit needs to be employing you as a CEO. That's very important, because the money that you are donating to your nonprofit, separate accounts, money leaves your account to fund your nonprofit. That's money that is showing entry. It's showing entry. So please, guys, it's very important. Have a separate bank account so that you can have the right financials to audit at the end of the day. I'm going to stop here for now. And then DFA is always available to mentor people. Follow us on Instagram at Donors for Africa. You know, we put out quite a lot of information about a lot of these things. Thank you, Mr. Shea.
Yes, thank you so much. The next question will go to Oludotun, and a participant is saying, your strategy says we should indicate what we have done to access funds. I think that's Chidi. Is it Chidi that said what we have done, or is it Oludotun?
Dotun.
Yeah, Dotun, yes, Chodun. Sorry, I'm mixing it. Yes, sorry. Yeah, the presentations were so excellent. So it says, your strategy says we should indicate what we have done to access funds. For someone who has worked at other NGOs and just commenced his or her own NGO, how does one capture competence to undertake projects? Is transfer of experience accepted from when you worked with others to when you now have set yours up, the seed stage?
Yeah, so I'd answer this question based on experiences working with some seed stage NGO. So I won't say you should use the transferred knowledge, because the interest of the person you're actually speaking with is the new entity that you're working, the new organization that you've started, or the new idea, because at the seed stage is actually an idea. So I'd say, because so many nonprofits come to us, or somebody that just want to start a nonprofit and will say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I'm looking for grants. What we normally say is that, can you just test what you want to do, the idea, the project, try and test it out first, which means, I mean, you cannot have money to start. You use your individual, most times you use your own individual money to start, whether from the organization you're transiting from to the new one, or maybe you're working somewhere before. So you're expected to use that to actually start within the first year. So what I was trying to say is that, yes, if you're able to glean some stories from that your first year of working, then in the second year, you can then start opening it up for discussion with prospective partners, international donors, agency, in fact, individual donors also as well, because I mean, it's at the seed stage. So you're expecting that, oh, if you're lucky, you get people to support. If you're not, you start with your own funds and money. So I'd say your experience is important. What you've done within that idea, that organization that you're trying to start, is what they're interested in, and not the one you're bringing from other institutions or entity or organization. So that I hope that answers your question. Let me just stop at that point. So the strategy that I was talking about is your own story. Tell your own story of what you've done.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Chidi.
Okay, I just wanted to add something slightly different in addition to what he said, right? So I think it's also important for you as a nonprofit founder, right, to also document your success stories. I let it be reflected in your profile as well, because we also cannot underestimate the importance, the competency of the individual behind the brand, right? Sometimes when people read the profiles, so you may not have done anything else, and like Dr. rightfully said, you know, most NGOs or most funding agencies will say, oh, because she's a this, but it can actually add value and credibility to some of the work that you're doing. So as long as you're not going to now say, oh, when I worked in an NGO, I was the one that, you know, you won't go and take the glory of something that is not yours, as long as you're not telling a lie, but you just want to ensure that you can reflect that competency, because it shows that you know what you're doing, even if you're new. So I just needed to throw that in. So you need to have a personal profile that reflects your competency level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me ask Chidi, before you off your mic, let me ask you this question. A participant would like to know, they just got registered November 2019. They are at the seed stage, and they would like to know, how to get money to create websites, pay salaries, and rent a larger office?
That's why I was answering this question when he was gisting you people now. Let's be honest. See, if you cannot invest your own money, why should Mr. Sheyi give you money? You must be able to go and convince family and friends. Let me tell you something, right? I remember when some 2 or 3 years ago, for the first 1 year, we ran DFA. We were not paying anybody's salaries. We had like a pool of volunteers. I don't mean people that are coming to learn. I mean well-trained experts from across the globe who were volunteering and working with DFA. I did not pay salaries for 1 year. I'm being honest, right? Number 2, I had to learn skills, sellable skills, so that I can generate resources. So the money will come from you first. You have, because if it's your project, you need to think about, I need to be able to convince a donor that I have invested money in this thing. And let me give you a statistics. Do you know that 70% of a lot of funding comes from our family and friends? So you need to start preaching the gospel to your family and friends. They should raise, you work with them, provide services, learn a skill, get a side job or a side hustle if you have to raise the initial money. That shows me how passionate you are about the work that you're doing. And that's my honest answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chidi. Let me go to Dotun now. Someone on webinar is asking, if we are in the premises of seeking seed grants, which organizations can we talk to for us to secure one? Can a nonprofit that is more than 1 year and that has spent over 2 million naira on different projects still be seen as seed seekers? Dotun, please.
So I didn't get that question rightly. They have 20 million, but
okay, so this is what they're saying. So I'm trying to read the questions directly so that I don't get into trouble. So I'll read it directly again.
Yes.
If we're in the premises of seeking seed grants, which organizations can we talk to for us to secure one? Can a nonprofit that is more than 1 year and that has over 20 million and that has spent over 20 million naira on different projects still be seen as seed seekers?
So let me just start from the second question. There's so many nonprofits that do not have 20 million naira or that have not accessed 20 million naira. So for me, if I stand as a reviewer with the donor you're speaking to, which is the seed grant donor, I won't count you as a seed, as an organization that wants to access seed grants. No. I'd start putting you at early stage and then start putting you at that level. I won't talk to you as a seed, as an organization. So that answers the second question. The first question, which is that, yes, which organization, my head, documents, organizations that you can actually experience. Open Society Initiative for West Africa still gives, yes.
I think we've lost Dotun again. I think we've lost Dotun again. Let's give him some seconds to reconnect. Oh, we lost, he's back. I think he's back. Okay, Dotun, okay. Please finish your thoughts.
Yeah, so I was saying that, yes, Open Society Initiative, they give within that scope of, seed grants. I used to know Indigo Trust to provide seed grant as well. And you can think about some other ones that provide seed grant as well. In fact, even some of the main ones that you see, depending on how you present your case, they give seed grants. And where you need to look for seed grants are actually embassies. Yeah, some of these embassies. I know the France embassy gives also seed grants in terms of $20,000 US dollars. So look the way of some embassies that are in country, because they too spend part of the overseas development assistance of their country, but in small amounts other than the larger philanthropy organization. So let me just stop there at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think someone also wants.
Okay. Okay, so it appears Dr. Shea's network has also taken the baton. So I think I will ask the next question. And I think this I would ask Dotun. The question is, how can one access grants from the Nigerian government and private companies?
Yeah,
Dotun, did you hear the question?
I heard the question. That's a good question. Today, I was still telling somebody that like 11 years ago, actually, my first grant was from First City Monument Bank. And that was like 1.5 million naira. Which is a way, actually, we normally do mapping and we found out that, oh, corporate organizations, nonprofits do not think about them. It's based, and I mean, because they don't request for proposals, you don't see a whole lot of requests for proposals from them, but you need to move yourself to them. And this links to what Chidi was saying before now, that your expertise is needed when you are starting up a nonprofit. And you need to learn from everywhere. I mean, the question was about websites. How do you pay for web? Things you know you will pay for. And this is what I tell people. Things you know you will pay for.
Learn it.
Learn it. Learn it.
Learn it.
You need a website at startup. I had to go and learn website development, even though I didn't learn it for starting a nonprofit, but I learned it. You know that, oh, concept notes, because so corporates in Nigeria, they look at concept notes, they look at real proposal, look at the banking sector, actually. Look at the banking, look at your sector that you're working in, try and look for corporates that are there, MTN, those in the security space, Dangote and all that. Look at the banks, they are actually looking for who to partner with. So you need to be able to write concept notes to them, because they also will look at your proposal just to merge it with their own, they have their own strategy too. They have their budget for the year, especially for corporate social responsibility. So I'd say, yes, it's important for you to know how to write a concept note, which they first start with and look at, write a proposal. So I think that, yeah, the corporates, that's how you can look at corporates as a key partner that can provide funding for you. Write proposals to them, a whole lot. I used to write to so many corporates, MTN, Airtel, then it was Econet. And that was where I built actually writing grant from, not from international partners. It was from looking at local resource. We call it local resource, actually, before getting outside. What was the second? I think it was corporate.
Government. How do you also get from government?
Oh, this is so difficult. So this is one of the difficulties that I mean, from my own experience, it's a very difficult space to get into. But I wouldn't term that as looking for grants for them. But recently, what we realize also is that government entities need a whole lot of cooperation from even civil society organization. But civil society organization, so it's like, oh, we put our back to the government. But what I'll say, because I've worked with a whole lot of transparency and accountability nonprofits in Nigeria, which tend not to partner with the government. So we just need to be careful in a way. It's actually the same way. They don't request for proposals or so, but you need to think about concept notes. You need to think about, this is one way also, because there's a counterpart funding from international donors with the Nigerian government. So nonprofits need to think about how to plug into such kind of funds. For example, the homegrown school feeding, part of the funds that is used for it is from the World Bank. And the World Bank and the government of Nigeria from the Vice President office normally looks out for third-party monitors, which some nonprofits might fit into. That's one way for you to, submit proposals, submit bid with other partners to be those third-party monitors. I know ActionAid normally does that and look for small nonprofits to combine in sending a proposal for that. So that's a way nonprofits can actually look out for partnering or getting grants from government agencies. Let me just stop there for now.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Dotun. Mr. Sheyi is back, so I think I'll let him take over.
Okay, yes, I'm back. So we're running a bit late now. What I'll do is I'll quickly take your session, Mrs. Ibekwe, then ask the two panelists to give us their closing thoughts. Then we can then give the vote of thanks. So Mrs. Ibekwe, the practical onboarding session will be good to have it now. And I'll let Dotun and give us their parting shots, and then we can close for the day. Over to you, Mr. Ibekwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheyi. I think to make my session faster, I'll play 2 videos, and I'll try to just run through the slides since we are already far gone. So I'll quickly share my screen now, and we can play the videos. Okay. Thank you very much. So I would also just run through this, and this is about accessing the giving grants. So that was just a quick video to let us know how we can onboard on giving.ng for the benefit of those that are just hearing about giving.ng for the first time. I'm going to run through the slides in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And then we will make provision to respond to your questions even after this session. And this is to respond to the needs of those that are interested in giving.ng grants. And I think before we get to the levels, I like the way Dotun had spoken to us through it. So Giving.ng, we already mentioned, is our country's first and only free crowdfunding platform in Africa. We're the only ones that deliver this kind of service, and we have quite a number of partners that are working with us to make this a reality for you. A lot of corporate organizations, media organizations are running through this. For you, people can donate on Giving.ng via different options. USSD, international transfer, local transfers. You can access different donors. Someone can come on the platform and just notice your project and find it interesting and donate towards it. You can find both additional volunteers for your project. Today we have Doctors Cancer Foundation, St. Cyril, Clever Minds Foundation, Apropos Doctor on Twitter is raising funds on our platform, and we have Angel for Life Foundation also currently providing canes for the blind. To qualify for our grants, your project has to be in either the health, education, food security, or renewable energy sectors. I already spoke to that. You have to go through our due diligence check, and it has to be satisfactory. We have to get detailed regular reporting, of course, because we all know that we are stakeholders in the impact story. As at now, is a maximum of ₦1 million. So yes, it is at the lower level. When you're just starting your NGO, I think that's when you will need our grants the most. One thing is critical, and I think I must mention that, because some people come on Giving.ng and just think that once their project is uploaded in Giving.ng, all their needs are met. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to share with your community. I think Chidi had already emphasized family and friends. You need to share with your community. Excellent work we've done already on Giving.ng. Once your project is live, you have social media icons just beneath your project, so you can share it on any of these platforms. Once you click on it, it can take you directly to WhatsApp, to Twitter, to LinkedIn, to Facebook, and it already even has a copy to say, give with me to support this project. So you can share with your friends, they can also share with their community, and the more people that see your project are interested in supporting you, you increase the donor base of individuals that can give grants to you in that term. And then you communicate progress, engage your community to let them know this is what has happened so far. You communicate the results, you let them know the impact story, and then you appreciate them. What this does is that next time you have a project on Giving.ng, they'll be excited to support you, because people are actually really deep down, we're all interested in doing good. We just need a platform we can trust. And what will Giving.ng do for you when your project is with us? We'll provide communication support. We'll put it on our social media. We'll put it within our community. We'll share it within our email database. We'll execute the project with you. So we're not just going to leave you alone. We'll provide some media visibility for the project for you, right? And then we'll also project your brand. We've done that for St. Cyril Cancer Foundation. They had a project on our platform earlier this year for Chijioke, a 5-year-old that had cancer, and we've also provided visibility support for that project, because Chijioke, thankfully, is feeling better now, and it also helps your reputation as the brand. I'll run to onboarding on Giving.ng. It's as easy as ABC, but I will speak through it. You go, you click on register on the platform, you click on registered body, you fill in your company name, your details, and you confirm your email. Once you're in, it takes you, you click on your profile settings, and this is where you upload your documents. You just click which you are, which is usually an NGO, and then you fill in your details, you upload your documents. Once your documents are uploaded, like you saw in the video, all you need to do is just relax. The due diligence team will check the documents, and once they're fine with it, your profile is approved and you can start raising funds on Giving.ng. Now, that is it in a very short form, and I think I succeeded in using very few minutes to quickly communicate that. So you're welcome. All you need to do is go to www.giving.ng. That's the URL, www.giving.ng. Once you get to www.giving.ng, immediately you will be able to see, now this is Giving.ng, and this is the project I just spoke to you about, Angel for Life Foundation, raising money to buy a cane for the visually impaired. We have provision, and that's a video concerning it. Angel for Life Foundation, for those who don't know, is led by Nikki Laoye, foremost artist. Now this is Giving.ng here, and And this is what you see when you get on the platform, and all you have to do is click here, register. Once you click on register, you click on registered body. Once you click on registered body, put in your company name, email, phone number, password. Once you click on that and you register, you get a confirmation email. After your confirmation email, then you're in and you can upload your documents. So it's actually easy peasy. We thought we deemed it fit to do this so that it will be easier for you to actually see it. So when you get back, you can always get all the information. If you need to know more about giving.ng, all you need to do is click on the FAQ button right here. To know more about the giving grants, just click here and you know all you need to know about the giving grants right here. So you are welcome to join us, and we are ready to support you to make maximum impact, touch as many lives as possible. And then we are ready to give the grants out like today. So please read up on the giving grants. We have the money right now. Try to qualify for it, and we'll be excited to give you the grants and hear all the success stories you have. At this juncture, maybe I would round up with a short video on the giving platform itself before we call it a day. So yes, that's it. We trust that we will all give a little and we will change a lot within Nigeria and hopefully bring down those scary statistics that tell us that Nigeria is the poverty capital of Nigeria. At this point, I hand over the button to Mr. Shea.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Ibekwe, for that brilliant presentation. And I'm sure colleagues have a lot of questions, but what I would advise we do is that you please drop your email address, and I'm referring to Mrs. Ibekwe, please drop your email address in the chat box or the email address of your colleagues who probably might be able to answer their questions directly. This way we can save some time because we've already short. We're 12 minutes short of short about 12 minutes out of our time. So can I have Chidi give her closing thoughts now? And after that, I'll take Oludo too. Your closing thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. So on the issue of funding, I'll just say this once more, right? Funding for your nonprofit will take time. That's why you cannot completely depend on grants for the long haul, because you have it's an external factor that affects your resource mobilization. You have no control over who will decide to fund you or not. You can write grant proposals for the next 2 years and you will not generate resources. So it is important that you find alternative income generating activities. A nonprofit simply means you can have products and services as long as it is targeted or tied around your mission and your vision. It does not mean you should declare profit and give all your board members money. It simply means as a nonprofit, every activity you are involved in must generate, like it must be centered around your mission and vision, every income generating activity you're involved in. So please find alternative sources of income, focus on resource mobilization. It's pretty much what Dr. and I talked about earlier on. When I started off, I learned how to create brochures. I learned how to create websites. I had websites up and running before I could pay someone to do something standard because I didn't want money from the board members. So it's important that you find alternative income generation because grant writing is for the long haul. It's not a short-term, it's not a short-term commitment to raising funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'd separate my last parting shot to those that are at the seed stage, Chidi just mentioned, you need to learn more skills. I think secondly, if you have the opportunity, please try and move or work in partnership with NGOs that are already either at the growth stage or at the mature stage. You get to learn all those templates, and now proposal writing and all can be done seamlessly. Secondly, to those that are at the early stage, I think what you should be aiming to do is partner with other similar NGOs as well to drive that are similar in the mission and vision that you have. And I mean, in that, you can have consortiums, you can form consortium applying for grants. And I think that should be a way to go. And we should be seeing more of that with the Nigerian civil society space, which we don't necessarily see, but I think it's something we should think about. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, both Chidi and Oludotun, for your very insightful presentation. And we've learned a lot from your wisdom today. I'm sure colleagues on the webinar would make use of all of the insights you have given, from relationship building, getting your structures right, ensuring that your good governance is also right and tight, making sure you have your audit reports, the executive director's salary is paid directly from the organization's account. We've also learned about seed, early growth, and mature stages of grants, and how all of this fits into your own structures and systems. And that's why at the Nigerian Network of NGOs, we are here to provide that kind of support that you need. And we'll continue to provide the support through partnerships we have with Giving.ng, and also through the good work that our friends at One Foundation are also doing. It's been a pleasure to moderate this session. Let me thank Mrs. Ibekwe and our team for putting this together, and to also thank all who have worked behind the scene to ensure that we can have this program today. Thank you once again to all participants, and I wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right.